This is the Figuring It Out Finance Podcast, episode number 98. My name is Chris Rickenbaugh, and I am your host as always, and this is the first podcast in 2025, and I am here to document my journey in real estate and business, while also talking a little bit about travel hacking and personal finance. You can find me on figuringitoutfinance.com, where you'll find all the links to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can go ahead and follow me on social media on TikTok and Instagram, where you can stay up to date daily when I post. So I do a lot of documenting my flips on there, talking about strategies I'm working on, and different tips and tricks that I'm learning along the way in my journey. But today's podcast, I wanted to talk a little bit about what is my primary focus in 2025, because I've done a little bit of, just kind of self-discovery, or not, that's definitely not the right word for it, but trying to figure out where I'm trying to go in 2025. And I'm like, maybe I can keep rentals, maybe I can sub to, maybe I can, wholesale a little bit, or Airbnb. And I just, kind of figured it out this past week and a half. I'm like, I just have to really focus here on flipping. So flipping is going to be my main and primary focus in 2025. I think I just need to really nail down and say, hey, I am not going to keep anything. I just need to flip. I need to build up that cash cushion, get myself out of, any bad debt that may be there, and just be able to set focus on flips for 2025. Because once that cash is rolling in, I'll be able to get a little bit more creative. I'll be able to have a marketing budget, which can start to lead to wholesaling, which is going to grow that business a little bit more. Then I can start branching out and updating my social media, the podcast, start having hosts, and, eventually start traveling, which is our ultimate goal this year. So it all starts with having money come in the door. So what is the thing that's not happening right now is money is not coming in the door. So with 2 flips, 2, possibly 3 houses going on the market in the first quarter of 2025, it really got me thinking that I just need more of these. So me and my partner kept talking and said, well, we should probably start thinking about wholesaling. And I'm like, well, we just don't have the money for it. So that is why I'm focusing on the flips primarily. It's locating more private money, locating more opportunities for flips to be able to start doing bigger opportunities, and where, I'm investing my own money back into the business, which could end up in wholesaling and social media, and back into those cash flowing assets. So my whole focus is going to be flip everything, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about wholesaling and building up that stockpile for 2026. So let's start with flip everything. So my plan, like I said, is to not keep a single property this year. I may be able to buy another primary property with somebody or a partner as a co-signer, but other than that, I am not planning on keeping anything. If I can go and make $20,000 on a flip, or I can keep this property, and best case scenario, I can rent it for, it cash flows $500 after all expenses, that only equates to $6,000 profit for the whole year, where I could take $20,000 that's going to pay my bills, and I'm going to be able to save money to be able to build up. So 4 or 5 flips and I'm making $20,000 off of it, I'm going to be able to save up 40 to 50 grand pretty easily over the year. And that's off of only 4 or 5 flips. So it really sunk in to where I just need to, lock in and focus on flipping and trying to get rid of everything rather than trying to hang on, because, going for the equity play right now is not going to be my friend if I don't have any money in the bank, because I'm still trying to reach out to private lenders and, cutting it very, very thin on the budget every single month. So I need to be able to have cash coming in, and that is why I'm going to be flipping everything. So as that cash keeps coming in, my wife is going to be ending up joining us on the team to be able to start helping us out a little bit more. And what I mean by that is our goal is to be able to start writing more contracts. So, me and my partner just don't quite have the time, and that's not one of my goals. And it's like, well, rather than hiring somebody in real estate that can't really make money off that position, but, it could be like a nice little side gig to where they get paid when something sells or we buy something and they get a little cut of it. We're like, well, why doesn't my wife do that? So, she's going to be joining our team and then just being able to help out in some different areas to where, whether we might not have enough time to be able to get there or, just being able to fill those gaps and really learn the business with us. So the wholesaling part where this comes in is that we're going to be writing a ton of contracts. And then with those flips being sold, we're going to be able to run that money into marketing to be able to start to wholesale. So I have some areas picked out already. We have areas we really like. So I'm like, man, there's a ton of houses here that could be flipped and it's starting to turn. It's just a little slow. And we just really need to send out mailers to these people. We need to get them on the phone and be able to start that conversation. So when they are ready to sell, whether that's this year, next year, 5 years, that we're their first call. So wholesaling out those properties, we can get them for the number that we want. And then we can go sell that and make, a minimum of $10,000 profit. So, we do a couple of those a month. We get a virtual assistant or a VA to be able to, help us with that process and the cold calling. We're going to be able to really ramp up. And then as our flips go on, we're going to be able to build up our personal cash cushion as well as meeting more private lenders and doing bigger and better things that's going to be able to feed into the business. So those first two things kind of build on each other to where I'm saying that we're going to be flipping everything, and then we're going to be using the money from those flips to be able to build up our personal cash cushion and then start feeding it back into the business with the marketing, into the wholesaling. So that is the main goal for this year. Flip, wholesale, don't keep anything. And then in 2026, we want to be able to have a pretty good stockpile of money to where we can do some creative things because, all these people have these different stories of, how they're, coming up with these $0 down opportunities. And then with subject to seller finance, you can do that. You can be creative, and it's going to take a lot of negotiation and finding the perfect deal. But more than likely, you're going to have to come to the table with a little bit of cash. Even if you have to come up with an earnest money, that's still, could be $1,000, $2,000 to $5,000 that you could be coming up with. And you could also be raising the money to do that. So nobody's saying that you can't do $0 down on an opportunity or a deal, but, it's pretty rare that that's going to happen. So, if you could sweeten the deal and say, hey, or on subject to where, it's easier to negotiate with a little bit of cash in your pocket rather than trying to negotiate somebody down to $0 to where they feel like they're just giving their house away. So having a little bit of a stockpile of money, we could say, hey, we don't want to put 20% down on a property, but, you're in a tough position right here. Could we give you $20,000 and take over your payments? That's going to be a lot more attractive. And we've actually had that opportunity come up to where I had to basically negotiate this guy down to $0. And for his house, he had, a couple other debts. He's like, we just need a little bit of cash in our pocket to pay this and this off. If I would have offered that guy $20,000 that day, he would have taken that in a heartbeat. So, it's really, really tough trying to negotiate that all the way down. And even looking at being in the subject to or creative finance groups on Facebook, they all kind of come back to the same thing to where you're really not putting any less down than about 15 to 20,000. And that ranges all the way up until, 60, 80, 100,000. So I probably wouldn't do anything like that. And having to vet out those opportunities is a little bit different, but having a little bit of cash in our pocket from the flipping, from the wholesaling that we can go and do and really be aggressive on those opportunities is going to be the main priority. So building up that stockpile, we could also do something to where we get the property under contract. Say that person doesn't want to go through any of the renovation. They just want to sell, put it on the market, but they're not going to get their number. We could do what's called a novation, to where we get it under contract and we do all the personal renovations and then be able to list it on the MLS for them without them having to do much. So let's say I get it under contract at $100,000. It needs about 20, 30 grand of work, and we're able to sell that around 200,000. So being able to make that little bit of spread to where, we're all in, they get paid 100, we put 30 grand into it. So we're all in at 130,000. We sell that house at 200,000. So, I've been told to take 10% off. So it's really 180 minus, some fees in there. So we're looking at a good $40,000 to $50,000 spread through that novation. And that's what we are able to do. But to be able to do that, we have to have the earnest money. We have to have that renovation money in our pocket. So I plan to be able to have to do everything myself. And that's where the who, not how kind of comes into my brain and, goes at it. Because I have to plan that nobody's going to help me until I start doing these things. But I'm able to have that knowledge to where I could go do this myself. So when somebody comes up to me and wants to invest, I can easily explain it. Hey, here's what I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to do it. If you want to be a part of this, we can give you some interest on your money. I do, 12%. And then we're able to go do these opportunities. But we can't do that if it's not in my account. And then we have to, if we go deal by deal, kind of like how we're doing for flips right now, it's like, I need 40 grand down on a flip. I've already put the earnest money down. So I'm already out to 3,000. Then I got to go raise the money. So basically what I'm doing right now is I get something under contract and I have to go sprint, find the money and panic basically. So what I'm trying to do is have it set aside already, that where, I don't have to go find somebody. I know exactly how I'm going to be able to close on this. The money's in the account. Then I can go find other investors with a lot less stress. So that is the goal for this whole next year. Getting and flipping everything, moving that money into marketing and wholesaling, and then building up that cash stockpile for 2026 for all of those other creative opportunities. So you can follow along on that process as I go throughout the year. I'm going to be talking about some of the deals we get under contract and we're flipping and how that business is going to be evolving throughout the year. So I'm super excited to be able to kind of really narrow down on that. And that's really only hit me within the last 2 weeks here. So super exciting stuff. Going to be a great year and going after some goals. So I hope everybody had a happy new year, getting ready to get this year started. So thank you for tuning in to episode number 98 of the Figuring It Out Finance podcast. My name is Chris Riggenball, and I will see you on the next episode.